Hey guys, it's Camus and another edition of Chess Beauty. At the conclusion of Chess Beauty 32, we left you with this position. This is a study by Mandel from 1938, and it's white to play and win. Try to work it out. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to see what's going on here. Although it's a study, you can see there's a very natural position and could easily have occurred in one of your games. May already have done so. And I remember some advice from Tony Miles from one of his annotated games where he said, the move before you enter an endgame, you should really work out the entire endgame. And I believe I did a video on Miles versus Keene. It ended up being a knight versus bishop ending, and optically, I remember it looked like it was just fine for black. Black had the bishop, but Tony had worked out the entire endgame before he'd exchanged queens, and it was a win for him. It was filled with a lot of subtleties, but he said, yeah, you work out the whole thing. You don't make it up as you go along, because that's just a recipe for disaster. So in this position, this would be one of those times where you would need to work out the entire thing before you go on. And there are a couple of tempting but incorrect tries. For instance, the obvious looking king to b7 comes to naught after king to b3, f4. Or actually, let's try king to c6. There's another try, king to c4, king to d6, king to d4, f4, king to e4, and now that pawn is a goner. So after king to b3, f4, I mentioned earlier, is a try, but that also doesn't work. To king to c4, king to c8, king to d5, king to d8, king to e6, and now you can see the black king is getting in front of the pawn, and we'll be able to stop it without any issues. Okay, so from the start position, another tempting try is just to try and race the pawn immediately. f4 doesn't work out. After b5, it's just an even foot race. f5, b4, f6, b3, f7, b2, queen, queen, and there are no tricks here. Queen to a8 check, king to b2, queen to b7, and the king can just stay close to the queen. There's no fancy way to win that queen. Okay, so go back to the start position. So now there are a couple of king moves here. I won't bog this video down by showing all the incorrect king moves. The only correct king move is, drumroll please, ta-da, king to d6. And this has echoes of that famous Reddy study. Basically, the king is trying to perform two functions here. He's hoping to be close enough to escort his pawn without interference from the black king, but also keeping an eye on the black pawn and the black king position. Okay, so now black has an obvious try here, king to b5, but after king to c5, that pawn is just a goner. And to king to b3, king takes b5, king to c3, king to c5, king to d5, and now you can see the black king can't get any closer to the white pawn. And he can go king to e2, but after f4, nothing is happening. Okay, so after king to d6, black's best try is king to a3. And now the white king doubles back to c5. And as you'll see, this is not so much to stop the pawn, which black can actually force the queen here, but it's to compromise the position of the black king. So king to a4, and in this position, I won't show you the variations, but it's still possible for white to go wrong here. If he tries to play king to d4, we end up getting another foot race that leads to a draw. So we won't go into all of that. King to d4 is not the kind of move you would probably make in this position anyway, as the white pawn looks sufficiently far enough away from the black king to require the assistance of the white king. So basically the white king here is just keeping an eye on things on the queen side. And so the best move here, not king to d4, which is a draw, as I said, is f4. Okay, and now obviously black's only try is to try and queen his pawn. b5, f5, b4, king to c4, king to c3. These are all pretty much forced moves. King to a3. Excuse me, king to c3, then king to a3. Okay, and now white has achieved his objective because now he can run with this pawn. And of course the only hope here is for black to run with his pawn. f7, queen. White allows the black pawn to queen because when he queens, it's with check. And there are no pesky queen checks from black to impede white. So there's a distinct threat of mate in this position. Obviously, if he goes something like king to a2, then queen to a8 is just checkmate. So after queening, he can try to squeeze out, but it doesn't work out. He can try to play king to a4, but after queen to a8 check, king to b5, queen to b7, and the queen on b1 is history. Very nice study from Mandel, 1938. Okay, looking ahead. Yes, we'll save that. Yes. Looking ahead, we're going to examine this position in the next Chess Beauty. This is also white to play and win. And I must say I have a weakness for the bizarre nature of bishop endings. I've had a couple before. This is relatively straightforward, but you do need to know what you're doing. So good luck with that, and we'll see you on the next Chess Beauty. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.